So, what is your stance on teachers being armed to make schools safer for children, and why do you feel this way?
I think that some teachers should be armed. I don't think all of them should. The reason why is, and we'll talk about this later too, I'm sure, is my fear is if every teacher, every administrator, everyone's armed with guns in school, there are certain teachers that would be vulnerable, and I would fear that if something's going to happen in the school, the kids could get access to those guns off those teachers. So I don't think that we need 100 people with guns in a school. I think there needs to be certain people.
What type of training do you think the teachers who would have those guns in the schools do you think they would need?
Well, obviously they're going to need the permit to carry a concealed weapon, but I think that they should have to go through some sort of training every year before the school year starts. They need to have some sort of training that's mandatory if they're going to carry those weapons in the school.
You kind of already said it, but what is your biggest fear about teachers carrying the guns in schools?
Well, my biggest fear is let's say for example, you've got 100 employees working in a school with guns. You've got 100 guns that are in that school. You've got 100 guns in that school, and that gives kids that much more chance to get those weapons and have something happen inside. You're going to have and pick certain people that are going to be good people to carry the guns. I mean, I don't know how a school district or a college or university would determine who's going to do that, but that's my biggest fear, is that the more guns you have in school, the more chances you're going to get that those students could come into contact and get those guns, and then you'd have big issues.
Okay, so if teachers were to be carrying guns, do you think that it would protect the lives or put the children's lives in more danger?
Well, I think that if you have certain people carrying guns, obviously, I think it would protect the lives. I think they need to do some other things with children coming into school. I know it's easier in a school building setting than like a university or a college. They can check people when they come into school. Now that's going to add cost to schools because you're going to have officers at the door when kids come into school. But I think it will help deter those people from doing that sort of thing in the school. So, like I said, certain people need to have them. I don't think everyone needs one.
Okay, so if the decision did come up and was finalized that teachers were allowed to carry guns in schools, who do you think should be the ones making that final decision to allow teachers to carry?
Well, obviously, it's going to have to be your board of education, your state board of education. Then it goes down to your school districts are going to have to follow those state guidelines. I don't think that, I think you have to have law enforcement involved in it to help determine who should carry the guns. I think it's just going to add a huge cost issue that schools right now, with funding to schools. I think it's a huge cost issue, and it's going to be tough to do. But I think that if that's going to happen, I think the state, I think you should keep the National Board of Education out of it. The state should do it. But I think it's going to be a cost issue too. I think you have to have law enforcement involved. I think you just can't have a bunch of random teachers out there carrying weapons. You got to have law enforcement involved in it too.
What we are doing now, currently in our nation, enough? Is it enough to protect the kids or the students after all that's happened lately in the world?
I think that why don't we have schools like going to get on an airplane? People search, If we want to stop it altogether, we got to have people searched when they come into schools. School doors are locked during the day. You can't get in during the day unless you have a key into the school, which that would be the teachers, the administrators. You have to push. I know our schools here in Iowa. You have to push a button at the front door, which has a camera on it, and then they'll click the front door and let you come in. But I think we've got to have, and then it comes down to cost again. You're going to have law enforcement. You're going to have a law enforcement official when they come into school. It's going to take longer time for kids to get into school. They're going to have to come earlier. I mean, there's a lot of issues you have to think about than just saying, boom, we want people to have guns in school. There's a lot of other things you can think about that need to be done.
If armed teachers are not the answer, what would you propose to ensure the safety for students across
Just
the
what I've been talking about. I mean, you're going to have to devise some system that's going to check students that come into school. Well, people say, hey, we want to ban guns, we want to ban guns, we want to ban guns. It's not the guns that are the problem. It's the children and it's the people. It's the people that are the problem now. Over in England, for example, I think it's London, they banned guns. Now we've got problems with stabbings. So what are they going to do? Ban knives? I mean, it's the people, it's not the guns that are the problem. But we've got to have some sort of system, and that's the way the times are. I mean, times have changed, people have changed. We need to have some sort of system that when the kids come into school, they need to be checked every day. And that's just the way it is. They're just going to have to get used to it. That's the way it is. And I know it's a problem at bigger schools because you got, 1,500, 2,000 students. That's tough, but something's got to be done. And I don't think that giving every single teacher a gun is the answer.
Okay, so what is your stance on teachers being armed to make schools safer for children, and why do you feel that way?
I think that teachers should be no different than anyone else. There shouldn't be a gun-free zone to start with. So if teachers are comfortable carrying and have the training, then they should be able to carry just like anyone else anywhere else. I don't think it should be a special type of deal.
Okay, and what type of training do you think those teachers would have to go through if they were able to carry on school grounds and while school's in session?
Besides the normal training that anyone with a carry permit has to have, I would think a little more training on weapons retention. So you've got some kids being goofballs or something that want to try and take the gun just thinking they're being funny. Police officers obviously are trained to not let their weapons get taken, and I think that would be a good additional thing for the civilians to have that carry also.
What is one of your biggest fears about teachers carrying guns in schools?
Just like anywhere, so the wrong person getting their hands on it, or anytime you allow people to carry weapons, you're putting a lot of trust and faith in them, and people can do silly things. So, but I don't think you're taking any more chance with teachers as a cross section of the rest of society either. So, like I said again, I don't think they should be treated any differently one way or the other as far as carrying.
So if teachers were to carry guns, do you think that this would definitely protect the lives of children or put them in more danger?
I see it as probably, I can see it going either way, actually. I think overall it would create an environment where people don't think that a school is a soft target anymore. So you may never know how many children they protected because things may not happen that would have happened. Like the thing in Florida, if students know they're going in there, the first person they meet might be carrying a gun. That's different than going in there thinking you can harm a lot of people before anyone shows up to stop you. So I think it would overall probably help students, but there'd be a hard way of proving that, and legislators don't like that because they like things with numbers and easy to prove.
Okay, so what I guess I want to ask you first is what we're doing right now in our nation enough to ensure the safety of the students in all schools around the nation?
Well, I think in the last few years, and probably the last 10 years, there's been a lot more Schools that you have to buzz to get entered in. Used to be, most schools you could just walk into any time of the day and walk through the building, and now at least someone is supposedly making an effort to screen those people coming into the building. But overall, I would say that's probably the most obvious sign. I don't see a lot of other signs we're doing much different.
What do you propose that should be done, in your opinion, to ensure that schools become safer?
My biggest thing would be this issue. I think that if teachers are not treated as a special class, and teachers that are comfortable carrying and have had the training are allowed to, and teachers that are not comfortable with it and don't want anything to do with it, or not mandated to or forced to, I think that would prevent things possibly from happening again. Like the old saying goes, why people rob banks is that's where the money is. Why are these shootings taking place? Because that's where no one's there to stop them. They know that they're soft targets and unarmed people, and I think by allowing people to carry on campuses and things like that, that might deter a lot of this type of thing.